Hi, and welcome to my channel. This is where I share my insights. And today, I'm talking about the virtuosic life. And virtuosity is a very interesting word because it's this word that we use for people who can do complex, fast-moving, very intricate things like athletics, music, dance, painting, or whatever. And they do it with no effort. And it seems impossible. And what is that? And how do we apply that to our existence? Stick around and we're going to talk about the virtuosic life, where it appears like you're doing something that impresses everyone, but essentially you're doing nothing at all. Stick around. When I was teaching music, one of the hardest things I thought to teach was how to build in the ease. So that the student didn't have to focus so much on directing their fingers on the keyboard. And they can get into this upper echelon of music making, which you would call sublimity. Being in the sublime moment where everything congealed and coalesced. The fingers knew what they were doing. The brain knew what it was doing. The body was completely and totally at one with the music itself. And you would call that letting oneself go. And a spiritual teacher would advise you to do that about your own life. Just let yourself go. But the ease must be built in to some skill. And we've seen it. You've seen it. You've watched the Olympics, and you've seen those athletes do this incredible stuff like ice skating or gymnastics or whatever. They twirl and twist around, and it looks like they're doing nothing at one level. And at another level, it looks completely impossible. And we can mimic that kind of success. If I were to say, look at Hilary Hahn or Joshua Bell play the violin, I could mimic those movements and make it look like I knew how to let myself go. In much the same way as I can fake a smile, and it looks like I've let myself go. The humor has just swept me up. That's a contrived motion. So I could sweep my head back and forth with a violin and make it look like I was so convincing. But the music you would hear would be screechy, scratchy, screechy, scratchy, screechy, scratchy. It would be noise. I had developed no skill. So I was mimicking success and giving you a symbol of it. Whereas true success in the virtuosic sense is a purity of heart. And in that moment, the performer or the athlete or the actor or the speaker has totally gone. There is no more effort because they have thrown themselves into the arms of something called trust. They trust their body, they trust the moment, they trust the timing, they trust the rehearsals. Everything is given over to this thing called trust. And that's the virtuosic performance. And if I were to reverse engineer what that took for Joshua Bell, Hilary Hahn, even Matthew Phelps, all these athletes, if you were to reverse engineer what it took for them to be able to do that, to achieve the impossible, you'd understand how difficult it is to build in the ease to something of great complexity. And so I've been pondering, how do we become virtuosic in our existence? We have to build in the ease. I used to always say, and when I was teaching college, that some people just suck at life. It's cumbersome to be alive. In much the same way as it's cumbersome for some people to play the piano. They don't get it. They don't know what to pay attention to. They haven't learned their practice. But effortless can be broken down as a spiritual practice. Effortlessness, if you really want to become a virtuous exister, you have to build in the ease to every single thing that you do. And it takes a lot of time and practice, because as you get into more complex environments, you are likely to get swept up in them. This is about doing things without thinking about it. Like driving, brushing your teeth, it's about being there with yourself in the activity that you're doing. That takes some practice. It takes a lot of practice to be here and now. And it takes a lot of practice to be yourself. Isn't that funny? A spiritual practice is practice being yourself, which I find funny. Why do we need to train people to be themselves? But you can tell when somebody's not quite themselves. They're nervous. They're full of anxiety. They're full of frustration, rage, awkwardness. There's not a naturalness to who they are. And the same way is that somebody that tried to put on a pair of ice skates, went out on the ice to twirl around like an Olympic ice skater, would look so clumsy and awkward and stupid. They couldn't just let it go. So if you've ever been advised to just quit worrying or to let it go, you realize that's the worst advice ever. Because how do we do this? What we're trying to do is to stop directing our fingers, to stop being aware of our bodies, to stop being aware of ourselves as these awkward things. Just stop doing that. It's like telling somebody, sit down at the piano and play a Beethoven sonata for me, from memory, in front of 10,000 people. Without developing a skill, without understanding yourself, and without being yourself. This is about paying attention to when you are yourself, without any effort or awareness of self in the kind of like self-conscious way. How do we lose ourselves like that? It's like saying, how do we direct whimsy? How do we direct spontaneity? How do we direct transcendence? Well, you got to start becoming a better observer of yourself and developing a skill of being yourself in more and more complex environments. And yourself would be when you're unbothered, at ease, you're in homeostasis, you're not thinking about me and my problems. And if you could live that way, You would be promoted to more and more complex things. You'd be able to handle it. And so we have people who are what I would call imposters of success. They have all the outward signs of success, but inwardly they have no skill. They have no practice. It would be just, again, like me picking up a violin and imitating a successful performer. Somehow we can see when people are not pure in heart. We can see when they are not at ease within themselves. We can see that that they haven't built in the ease to everyday living. They're flailing and trying and contriving and being unnatural. But it's not easy to be yourself when people are looking at you, or when your circumstances seem to be provoking you. It's easy to get caught up in it. And then you flail, try, and the thing comes unraveled. So, what I would suggest is that we work on becoming comfortable in our own environments. And it's all an intimate beginning. To become comfortable in your own environment would be to become comfortable in your own body. You're not in your own body, but you'll realize this. Comfort begins in your bodysuit. So the condition of your bodysuit, as an outpicturing of your inward condition, will give you some indication as to how well you are in your inner world. And the shell that you seem to occupy could be uneasy or diseased because you have not built in the ease in just existing. So I would suggest that you sit still. And know who you are. And to bring that stillness into you when you go to make your coffee in the morning. Start with the day with this stillness, this inner stillness, and bring it with you. You got to practice. You might get disturbed by your thoughts. Start moving fast and awkwardly again. So you build in the ease. You build in the stillness. Then you practice being at ease. Even when you get pulled over for speeding. Even when you get a bill. Even when you have no money. Even when your spouse leaves you. Even when you have to deal with this problem. How well are you dealing with life? When I say how well are you dealing with life, I'm saying how well are you dealing with the outpicturing of yourself? Well, to fix the dis-ease of everything that extends from your inner world, you must heal the unease within you. Most of us are trying to fix our circumstances, which are symptoms. So the virtuosic life is an inward recognition. It's a turning in and realizing how uneasy you are. All right, so let's practice building in the ease. At the office, interacting with our spouses, dealing with our lives. When you're dealing with this thing called life, you're dealing with yourself. So everything is an extension of self, which is the inward. So are you bitter about your circumstances? Well, they are reflecting an inner condition that was vibrating maybe years ago. So it takes a while to heal the body from within. You've brought a lot of unease with you everywhere. That's because that's what most people are used to doing. So we build in the ease. It's really difficult for people to feel at ease all the time. So your circumstances are very trying because they're changing and you don't have control over that. What you want to do is focus on being at ease in all circumstances. That's the virtuosic life. That's how you master this thing called life. You don't dominate it. You become easy with it. Remembering that this thing out there is an extension of your inner world. To heal it would be to become easy. Love it. I know that's difficult. To love all of your circumstances as they are, because they are a reflection of something more fundamental. That feeling of ease in you. That's your practice. This is what you do every day. It's a rehearsal. It's a rehearsal. All right, so I would tell my kids as we were rehearsing the choir pieces, all right, can we repeat this circumstance with a little more ease now that you know? Now that you've adjusted to this particular section of the music, let's see how well you know it. So this condition you have, it's yours. How easy are you with it? Because that's you. It's a reflection of you. It's sometimes difficult for people to understand, but the virtuosic life is always from the epicenter outward. And every day is a rehearsal. Every experience is a rehearsal. How well are you doing interacting with the slow cashier at the checkout line? How well are you doing with your broken finances? How well are you doing when you have to interact with your ex-spouse? That's what Jesus called turning the other cheek. That's why success is efficacious. It's not confrontational. Because it's coming from you. That's what you have to understand. You are rendering it. This is an outpicturing of an inner intangible which draws itself in the 3D hologram. So you're going to practice being easy today. And then the performance later, the success which is on its way, will billow and billow and billow in a natural way. And there will be no real doing after that. It's clunky at first. You have to try to be easy. And then you realize, oh, you get a knack for it. Being easy while you're driving in traffic, being easy while you're waiting for your finances to improve, being easy when you deal with colleagues and you're letting go of the white-knuckling control. It's building in the ease as a slow relinquishment of control. And a trust, because now you know the direction of life, which is working out the clunkiness and being yourself. You have to practice being yourself. And your true self is easy. It says somewhere in Isaiah, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Well, you can think of it this way. Beat yourself to the grave. When you die, it's going to be like taking off a tight shoe. Just totally relieved. Well, get to that rest and peace now. Before death has to snatch you away, you see. Rest in peace now. Your yoke is easy and your burden is light. Get to the final stage of your life. And build it into the current condition. And that's what seems miraculous to people. How can you be easy at a time like this? And how can you just be so chill? Well, I've practiced the ending, which is, So build the ending into your current situation, which is resting in peace before you actually die. That makes sense? So that's the virtuosic life. And I hope you enjoyed these insights. And I encourage you to check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com, or my books on Amazon. Thank you for watching.